In the ancient folds of the Thauran steppe, where the dawn brushed the grasses with hues of rose and gold, and the wind carried whispers older than the hills, there thrived a small clan of people, the Vorin, some 13,000 years ago. Among them was Myrwen, a woman whose life spun a delicate thread of survival, love, and wonder in a world wild and unbound. The Vorin built no cities, forged no metals, raised no walls. Their lives were woven into the rhythms of the earth, and Myrwen's hands, nimble and warm, carried the pulse of her people's story. Myrwen's days began with the first light, as the sun peeked over the steppe's gentle slopes. She rose from her nest of woven reeds and furs, the hides softened by her own careful tanning, and stepped into the crisp air, her breath a soft cloud in the morning chill. Her tunic, crafted from deer hide and stitched with sinew, was adorned with beads of river stone and bird bone, each a tiny story of the land. Her first task was to tend the fire, the clan's beating heart, where embers from the night's tales still glowed. Kneeling by the hearth, she coaxed sparks into flame with dried grass and a breath as soft as a sigh, for fire was their warmth, their shield, their keeper of memories. The other women, her cousin Illyra, her mother Sana, and wise old Queva with her knowing smile, joined her, their voices mingling in quiet murmurs, sharing dreams and plans as the camp stirred like a waking child. With the fire alive, Myrwen led the women to gather. They roamed the steppe's edges, baskets of woven bark slung over their shoulders, their eyes keen for the earth's gifts. Myrwen knew the land's secrets, where wild rye grew in thick clumps, where burdock roots hid beneath the soil, where tart berries clustered on thorny shrubs. Her fingers, toughened yet gentle, plucked leaves of sorrel for healing, and dug tubers with a carved antler. Sometimes she paused to watch a herd of aurochs graze in the distance, their breath steaming in the dawn, a sign of the spirits that blessed their hunts. The women hummed as they worked, their voices weaving a song of the steppe, of roots and rivers, of the bison that gave their lives so the Vorin might thrive. These songs were Myrwen's legacy, passed from grandmother to daughter, binding the women in a thread stronger than any cord. Midday often brought preparations for the hunt, though Myrwen's role was to create rather than chase. The men, led by her brother Varen, tracked bison or elk, their spears tipped with flint she had shaped. Myrwen was a master of stone, striking flakes with a smooth river rock to craft blades sharp enough to cut hide or sinew. While the hunters roamed, she and the women readied the camp. She stretched hides over wooden frames to dry, scraping them clean with a flint tool until they were soft as a whisper. Illyra twisted reeds into cord, strong enough to bind shelters or carry loads, while Sana ground seeds into meal with a stone pestle, the rhythm a quiet heartbeat. Myrwen's niece, little Tiara, played nearby, weaving grass into tiny figures, her giggles a spark that warmed the camp. When the hunters returned, their arms heavy with game, the camp bloomed with life. Myrwen helped butcher the elk, her flint knife slicing with care to honor the animal's spirit. The meat was shared, some roasted over the fire, its rich scent blending with the steppe's grassy air, some dried for the cold moons ahead. Bones were saved for needles, sinew for thread, hides for shelter. Nothing was wasted, for the Vorin knew the land's gifts were sacred. That evening, as the stars blinked awake, the clan gathered around the fire. Varen told of the hunt, his hands painting the elk's path in the air, while Queva sang of the wind, her voice weaving tales of spirits who danced across the steppe. Myrwen, sitting close to Illyra, added her voice to the song, her fingers tracing patterns in the earth, spirals and lines that echoed the stars above.
Myrwen's days were woven with purpose, each task a thread in the clan's survival. She was a healer, taught by Quiva to ease pains with willow tea and bind wounds with poultices of moss and honey. When Tira scraped her knee, Myrwen knelt beside her, humming softly, wrapping the wound with care. She was a maker, crafting beads from bone and shell, stringing them into necklaces that held stories of the river and the hunt. She was a teacher, showing Tira how to knot cord and spot edible plants, her patience as steady as the steppes' horizon. And she was a dreamer, lying awake under the stars, wondering what lay beyond the valley, what spirits guided the herds, what songs the wind carried from lands unseen. The seasons wove their own patterns. Spring brought new grasses and the bleating of newborn lambs, with Myrwen and the women gathering tender shoots and weaving baskets to hold them. Summer meant long hunts and endless light, with Myrwen drying berries and meat under the sun's warm gaze. Autumn turned the steppe golden, and the Voren followed the herds, Myrwen carrying Tira on her shoulder as they walked, her songs keeping the children's steps light. Winter was harshest, the cold sharp as flint, the game scarce, but Myrwen's fire burned steady, her stories warming the clan as they huddled beneath firs, their breath a shared mist in the dark. Loss was part of the weave. A fever claimed Sana when Myrwen was young, leaving a hole in her heart. A hunt took Veren's friend, caught by a bison's charge, his loss mourned with songs by the fire. Yet the Voren endured, their bonds a net against sorrow. Myrwen found joy in the small threads, Tira's first knotted cord, Elira's shy blush when Veren gifted her a carved bone comb, Quiva's laughter like the rustle of leaves. She felt the steppe's pulse in her veins, its spirits in her dreams. One night, under a moon round as a river stone, Myrwen led a ritual by the water, offering a necklace of shells and feathers to the river's spirit, asking for its flow to carry them through lean times. The clan joined her, their voices rising like embers, a song of thanks for the steppe, the stars, the life they shared. The Voren left no towering ruins, no stones to mark their passing. Their shelters of hide and wood melted back into the earth, their tools scattered by wind and time. But Myrwen's life, like those of the women before and after her, was a thread that lingered in the steppe's memory. She lived as her ancestors had, her hands weaving, her voice singing, her heart bound to the land and her people. When her time came, years later, she was laid to rest by the river, her beads and flint knife beside her, her body wrapped in a hide painted with spirals. The Voren sang for her, their voices carrying her spirit to the stars, where she joined the dance of the ancestors. Today, the Tharan steppe holds only echoes of Myrwen and the Voren. Archaeologists find their flint blades, their fire-cracked stones, their beads buried in the soil. Each fragment tells a story of a woman who lived with purpose, who wove her days into the fabric of her people, who sang to the wind and the stars. Myrwen's life was small in the shadow of empires, yet vast in its quiet strength, a testament to the women of the ancient world who carried the fire, the songs, and the dreams that kept humanity alive. In the whisper of the steppes' grasses, her lullaby still hums, a gentle reminder that even in a world untamed, a woman's heart can weave a home that endures.